$200 billion lost to a massive bailout of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Over 1 million people lost their houses to foreclosure. There are 27 subprime low-quality mortgages issued by banks. 25 U.S. banks had to be taken over by FDIC. My fellow senators, I strongly believe that the government should not support the mortgage market. First of all, government support to the mortgage market creates risk and loses taxpayer money. I agree with Neil Tulsian that when there's a powerful government backing, banks will lend to higher risk people. These people have a higher risk of not paying back their loans. And if they don't pay back their loans and their houses are below the loan value, the banks will lose a lot of money. Then the government has to step in and bail out these banks. Like in 2008, $200 billion was wasted in a massive bailout of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. $200 billion. Our national debt is $17 trillion. If we keep losing to massive bailouts like this, our country will eventually go bankrupt. Also, we can use this $200 billion for other things, like education and health care. Another reason why the government should not support the mortgage market is because it artificially inflates housing prices. With larger home prices, buyers will have to take on more debt to pay off their houses. Lenders and mortgage investors don't benefit clearly either. Scott Garrett, Republican representative from New Jersey, states, a housing bubble which bursts ends up selling homeowners, mortgage investors, and taxpayers in hopelessly underwater bad loans. These larger home prices are also worse for low-income people. The low-income people will not be able to afford a house. Government guarantees also degrade underwriting standards. Without a powerful government backstop, private banks are less inclined to lend to higher risk people. They will perform the proper checks and balances and underwriting standards. Mortgages will go to people who are actually considered creditworthy. According to Ed Pinto, former chief credit officer of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, there were 27 million subprime low-quality mortgages by the middle of 2008. According to Reasons.org, 71% of these mortgages were backed by the government. These studies show that government-backed banks become reckless and lend to people they shouldn't lend to. I do not agree with Senator R. Ericom that the government support to the mortgage market is good for the economy. It's the quite opposite. It's bad for the economy. With so many personal and government resources devoted to housing, there's less capital for other worthwhile things. So, if we want a country with less investment in education, health care, scientific research, and entrepreneurship. By all means, government support to the mortgage market is the way to go. On the other hand, if we want a successful country with proper education, good health care, cutting-edge scientific research, and entrepreneurship, do not let the government support the mortgage market. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow senators, I hope you join me as to not let the government support the mortgage market. Thank you. I'm now open to questions.
Very nice. Senator Singh?
Well, in the beginning of your speech, you said that the bailout in 2008 was because of the government joining. Well, that was the opposite. It was actually the bank's fault because the banks got greedy and they lent money to more people that they knew that they wouldn't pay. So what do you have to say to that?
That's the point. They were becoming reckless. Without a government support, banks won't lend to high-risk people. The banks, with the government support, their main goal, their primary goal, is to make money. They don't care about the taxpayer money. That's the government's job to protect the taxpayer money and not support the mortgage market.
More questions? Senator D.I. Yerkum?
You said that the $2 billion from bailout can be used for other things, like such as healthcare. Don't people need houses, and like 1/5 of our housing market makes up our economy? What do you have to say about that?
First of all, it's $200 billion, and we can devote some of that, $200 billion, we can devote some of that to housing, but our infrastructure is really old. We can spend it on other things. Our U.S. is not #1 in education. We can spend it on that. We don't have proper health care. We can spend it on that. Our roads and bridges aren't top-notch. We can spend it on that. We can create economic activity with the $200 billion we wasted in this massive bailout.
All right, thank you, Senator Gupta.